a lot of people see hackers as the bad guys, but the core term is the hackers are the good guys and the crackers are the bad guys.
Okay.
Right? So the term hackers sort of stuck and people started using that. But now how we differentiate that is that we say you're a black hat hacker if you do it for evil, if you use those skills for bad, right? And you're a white hat hacker if you're on the good side and you protect organizations and people. So
that's so interesting.
Trivia,
very, very interesting to hear about that. But I mean, when we talk, and I think let's maybe begin here, because when one says cybersecurity, one just thinks, okay, these are good people that keep my banking app good, or safe. But we've never really understood what is it. What is cybersecurity?
Yeah, that's let me answer it by bringing it closer to home, right? So we've given my son a mobile device. It's an old phone we've given to him that he can use on weekends and so forth for games and that sort of thing. And when we gave him that phone, I had to teach him what the internet is and what the dangers are about the internet. So one thing I also did was install software on the phone that sort of tracks all applications, all activities that he does on a phone. Before he installs a game or an app, it'll send me a notification and say, hey, there's this app, your son's trying to install, its age rating is X age, and there's a description, and I can decide whether I want to approve or disapprove it. So at a young age already, we got to teach people what cybersecurity is. And that's an example, obviously, that, involves my son. However, when you start breaking down the term cybersecurity, you got to start with the cyber component. Cyber refers to technology and computers or computing. Anything that involves that, you need to obviously secure it, hence cybersecurity.
And when we look at cybersecurity, how did it sort of become an integral part of every component? Is it the fact that these hackers were then attacking everything and changing it for the bad, and everybody needed it? Or is it that the internet was designed to have a cybersecurity component in it?
So the way the internet sort of evolved, it wasn't initially intended for what we know the internet is today, right? It started off in the days of the military, and it was used sort of in a private, capacity. And it sort of evolved, and people started seeing that there's use cases you can actually use this for. And obviously, e-commerce back in the 90s, that sort of thing. So the boom started, right? And it has evolved so much that it's gone all the way to what we can do with AI now. I mean, it's become ubiquitous with the way we live. You can't do anything without the internet today. So when it came about, it sort of evolved. It was an evolution. Security was not at the core of it. And we see that with a lot of applications that are available today, right? They're normally not built with security in place. It's only when somebody comes along, makes it do something that it wasn't intended to, the hacker term we touched on earlier on, that people kind of go, actually, ooh, yeah, no, we need to stop this behavior, right? We can't just have a banking app and we haven't thought about security, because there's always people who are going to want to do malicious stuff, want to take advantage of it. So the hackers come in, or bad actors, they'll come and take advantage. So that's where security came in. So it wasn't initially intended to be like that, but it was an evolution.
That's interesting. So essentially, the hackers created the business case for cybersecurity, because if we didn't have hackers, we wouldn't have it. But I mean, you've had over a decade experience in ICT, and I'm sure it's been so interesting because 10 years back and, where ICT is today has evolved. When you started, what was ICT?
Sure.
And when was this?
When I started, so I can go back to my high school days, right? When I was in high school, I guess one of the most popular operating systems at the time was probably Windows. You could say Windows 98. And then I started high school, and we had the old PC boxes, the white desktops. So that's the era.
The huge screen.
Yes.
Heavy.
Yeah, that's the era that I got well acquainted with computers, right? So that's what it was. And the internet was still something that people were still becoming familiar with, especially obviously in South Africa as well. So that was ICT for us. Like, you get on the internet and you use Google and it does all these interesting things for you, because we used to have libraries where you need to go and take out your Britannica encyclopedia to do research. But now there is this computer that has all this information and more, and, latest information than what the encyclopedia would have, right? Because there's like cut-off date and you have to keep buying them. So that was probably the biggest use case for me at the time. So, and then obviously the social media came in and the YouTubes and all that. So, yeah.
And I mean, seeing this evolution happen, how did you sort of keep up to date with all of it? Because I think, unlike many other industries where things change quite slowly, in cyber, I'm sure new hackers come up, better hackers come up. So you continually have to keep changing stuff. In your journey, what were some of the changes that happened?
Yeah, there's been a lot of them. Hey, like it's so fascinating when you look at that. The fourth industrial revolution graph, right? And it shows you the various innovation waves, and you sort of see that the earlier waves, it's like 60 years, 50 years, and it's become smaller. And the current wave and the one they predict that is coming, it's gonna be in a much shorter space. So that means so much change is gonna happen in a short space of time, and obviously, in the cyberspace, it's got to keep up, right? I've seen things such as, we can talk something that's relevant today, remote work. A lot of people have changed the way they work thanks to the pandemic. And before, where you used to have an office where everyone needs to go work in the office, and your computer was obviously located in the office, all you had to do was protect the office, And we had laptops come along now. So everybody has laptops, and now you can take the device out of the laptop, and now remote workforce is, in full swing, which means you no longer have a perimeter to protect. That's a big analogy that we use in cyber. This sort of a castle and moat, where the castles back in the day used to be, in a space where they build out sort of like a water, like a DMZ of sort.
Yeah,
there's one entrance. Yes. And just one way in and out, right?
Wow, so is that how they build cyber systems? It's like a castle. There's one way in.
100%.
Okay.
So that's the architecture that you could actually use. That said, okay, look, you gotta have one way in and out, and that's where things like firewalls have come in, where they actually determine who comes in and out. They either deny or permit.
So a firewall is like that water around the castle. Is that what a firewall is?
Yes. So it allows you access to a specific point. So you need to know whether through an IP address, or you need to know, or the URL which you type in to go to www. whatever bank you go. So that has to go through a firewall for you to have access to it.
Yeah. And what do the hackers do? The hackers then try and build firewalls into the castle?
So normally the hackers try to find out what vulnerabilities exist.
Or within the main firewall?
Within whatever software that is normally either behind the firewall, or sometimes even on the firewall itself, right? So one of the things they do, they actually try to scan the internet, first of all, for these vulnerabilities, because all software that is created is not inherently secure. The guys that code, the key thing for them is delivering software that works.
Oh, this is profound. All software that is created is not inherently secure.
No.
The guys they're building, you say to them, I want an app that's going to do 1, 2, 3, and that's what they're focusing on, not the securing part.
Absolutely. Like when you say to someone, build me a website, they're just going to build your website. It looks good. Security is not even top of mind at the moment, right? Whether it's a website, whether it's an application. So, and in that's where vulnerabilities are sort of introduced in the way the software, the application actually works. So there's different types of vulnerabilities that can actually be exploited. So that's what hackers are essentially looking for.
Oh.
So they have the solutions that scan the landscape and say, okay, cool. Here there's a hole, and let me exploit it. That's why updates are very important, right? Updates on your phone, updates on your laptop, any software, you need to constantly update it. The reason you update it is not just so you can get new features. That's part of it. But it's because they find out what these vulnerabilities are that are being exploited by the bad guys, and the manufacturer sort of obviously closes those gaps. So that's what happens.
Wow, that's interesting. Now I know why I always need to click on my updates. But looking at that, I mean, you've got some experience in open group architect framework. And when I looked at that, I thought, okay, this is interesting. What does this actually mean? Yeah, what is that?
So that's in the realm of enterprise architecture. So that was essentially saying you cannot look at technology in isolation, right? When you look at organization, there are a lot of factors that actually guide the use cases. You need to understand the business model. You need to understand specific risks that apply to the actual business, right? Because a lot of people just come in and just want to buy, technology, and no. Why is the technology there? It's there to provide a function, right? And you need to understand the supporting infrastructure around it. The people, the processes, the technology. You need to understand all those legs of it. So that's what essentially that says. That says, look, it's a whole system. When you think of it in terms of systems thinking, none of it is isolated. It's all connected to a bigger, sort of a system. That's essentially what it touches on.
So a system